when we look at the conduct of players, we're looking at things like sportsmanship, we're looking at things like gamesmanship, and about those unwritten rules that you might see in a game of sport that sometimes we may even think are the rules, but probably are actually more about the conduct or the expectations of the player's behaviour. So if we have a look at the first one about etiquette, okay, so etiquette is a set of unwritten rules that players will abide by. Now, they're not written down, they are not laws, they are literally a set of expectations that players will play by. So I'll give an example. So in a game of football, if there's an injured player, what will tend to happen is that the players will kick the ball out so the player can receive treatment. Now that might seem like, you know, it's just some sort of good sportsmanship, sort of good behaviour, and it is. But the thing that is really, really important to a game of football is then the ball would be then returned back to the opposition. So again, have a look at this little clip that's coming up to see how that happens. And also, there are some times when that etiquette is not followed. So let's have a look.
This tie will be remembered for very different reasons. Alan Kelly's clearance was put into touch to allow Lee Morris to receive treatment at the other end of the field. Ray Parlour intended to give the ball back with his throw-in, as is the convention, but Nwankwo Kanu, 11 minutes into his English debut, misunderstood the situation, and Mark Obermar's instinctive reaction was to take the chance. United, understandably, were incensed, but their anger was matched only by Arsenal's embarrassment, and before the end, the champions had already decided on a sporting and unprecedented solution: to offer a rematch.
The expectations, those unwritten rules, were not followed. Now, they've not broken any rule. It's not that they've cheated, but the expectation in the game is that when that happens, that you return the ball back, and everybody expects that. In the same way that in golf, you expect that people will be quiet while you're playing your shot. In snooker, we expect that the opposition will remain seated while you're playing your shot. They're not walking around having a look at what you're doing. And they are all etiquettes, all that set of unwritten rules. So that's that first topic. Now, the second one is all about sportsmanship. Now, we know about sportsmanship. You know, we hopefully play to the rules of the game all the time. The definition of sportsmanship is the appropriate, polite and fair behaviour whilst participating in a sporting event. So the fact that you know you're going to get punched in the face when you box it, and that's fine, it's kind of part of the rules, it's fair. However, if someone does to maybe start to use their head, use their elbows, you know, hold on, things like that, maybe that's not sportsmanship, because it's not part and it's not fair and it's not polite. It's not those rules that we expect. Now, with sportsmanship, we might do things like, if I am batting in cricket, that if I was to hit the ball, I know I've hit the ball, I might then walk and not wait for the umpire to give me out, because I know what I've done, and that's polite, that's fair, and it's kind of within the rules of the game. Well, it's not really expected that I have to walk, but that would be good sportsmanship. Again, if somebody's fallen down in the game, maybe I'll offer a hand and help them up. That's polite, it's fair, it's within the rules of the game. Now, where we have something slightly different is gamesmanship. Now, gamesmanship is where people might bend the rules. They are sort of dubious methods where it's not strictly illegal, but it might be pushing those sort of boundaries. And this is where maybe diving comes in. So diving in football is now kind of illegal, but people still get away with it. So they're kind of bending the rules. And that idea of gamesmanship is something that players will use to gain an advantage. So if we were looking at a game of basketball, maybe there's been contact, somebody might maybe jump to the floor more than they maybe should have. They might sell a push in a game of football to maybe make it seem worse than it was. And that whole thing is that, you know, it was a foul, but I've made it look worse. Maybe we stay down for longer. We maybe appear to be more injured than actually we are. And that is what I mean by gamesmanship.
What is the proper sports conduct?
Sports conduct that's brought down from the NJSIAAs is zero tolerance that we have for any bias incidents or remarks that may be made at a game or anywhere on our school grounds. It could range from berating an opponent to making biased statements to an opponent, from fans, from a player to a player, from fans to players, from fans to fans. It's a variety of issues that we've taken a zero tolerance stance on.
Proper sports conduct involves playing by the rules and maintaining a good attitude throughout a game without taunting or berating any other players.
Why is it mandatory to read the sports conduct rules every game?
This is a mandatory rule that's read before every game, from officials to student athletes, and then also at contests where we have an announcer, where the announcer reads it to the fans. Again, mandated from the NJSIAA down to all the high schools in our state to help enforce our zero tolerance code on any bias incidents.
It is mandatory policy that all NJSIAA officials read the conduct statement before each and every contest that occurs.
What will happen if a player does not follow these rules?
Any type of infraction from student athletes during the course of a game will result in them being removed from the contest from the official. The official then writes up the offense, which in turn, if it's conducted on the football field, they would have to sit another game, as well as wrestling as well. They sit one more match. In other sports, such as basketball, baseball, soccer, softball, those sports, they'd have to sit an additional 2 games. So again, this is a very serious offense that the state's taking a stance against.
If you do not follow the rules outlined by the officials and you taunt or berate an opponent and they feel that you are in violation of this rule, you can be ejected from the contest.
Always be a good sport.
Welcome to another school year at White Bear Lake Area High School, where there is a rich tradition of academics, athletics, activities, and fine arts. We look forward to continuing that tradition.
At White Bear Lake Area Schools, we believe that participation in athletics and activities plays an important role in the academic, social, and emotional growth of our students. Our goal is to provide a variety of athletic and activity opportunities for our students so that the varied interests and abilities are enhanced. Athletics and activities help students to build character, develop leadership skills, and create a connectedness in the respectful and inclusive learning environment.
At White Bear Lake Area Schools, we believe participation in activities and athletics is a privilege. With that participation comes a different level of responsibility. Any White Bear Lake student participating in a Minnesota State High School League sanctioned program agrees to the rules and bylaws of the Minnesota State High School League and the board policies of the White Bear Lake Area Schools.
Adherence to these rules and bylaws begins when you, the student, have registered for your first Minnesota State High School League activity and continues through your graduation. Following these rules and bylaws pertains to your actions and choices in the classroom, the community, in competition, and when using social media. At all times, you are representing yourself, your family, your team, and White Bear Lake Area High School. We expect and believe that you will do so in a positive manner.
These expectations cover both personal behavior and chemical possession and use. Possession and/or consumption of a chemical substance would be a violation of both the Minnesota State High School League and White Bear Lake Area Schools policies. Please remember that cigarettes and e-cigarettes or vaping are a direct violation. Harassment and hazing will not be tolerated and are strictly prohibited by the Minnesota State High School League and White Bear Lake Area Schools.
Students choosing to not follow the Minnesota State High School League and White Bear Lake Area Schools bylaws and policies will be held accountable. The first chemical violation will result in a suspension from competition for 2 weeks or 25% of the contest, whichever is greater. The second violation is 6 weeks or 50% of contests, whichever is greater. The third violation results in the student being unable to participate in athletics for 1 calendar year from the date of the violation.
Students participating in non-Minnesota State High School League activities who violate White Bear Lake Area Schools policies will have consequences as determined by school administration.
As a participant, please always remember that you are a student first and foremost. Students who are not making appropriate progress towards graduation, as outlined in our academic eligibility guidelines, will not be allowed to participate. Progress towards graduation is determined by credits earned during the academic year.
As always, we look forward to another outstanding year for each of our students. Go Bears!
So I'm going to talk about sport integrity. I'm going to say a bit about what sport integrity is, and then respond to 3 common questions. So what is sport integrity? Sport integrity concerns moral or ethical aspects of sport, and integrity concerns acting consistently with our values or principles. Sport's a great opportunity to foster positive values. We might think of cooperation, teamwork, conflict resolution, problem solving, or understanding fair play. There's all positive values that sport can help develop. How do we make sure young people benefit from sport participation? I think the emphasis would be on positive values such as fun, whether your child has enjoyed a session, praising the effort levels of your child rather than asking about the result first, or asking about what your child has learned and making clear it's okay to make mistakes. Secondly, what about the negative press that sport receives? Sport seems to receive a lot of negative press nowadays, and we might end up asking ourselves, do we want our children involved in sport? We might say a lot of the negative press is sort of sensationalized occurrences, sensationalized less common occurrences. Sport regularly reflects the positive, as we've said, teamwork, dedication, striving to improve or overcoming barriers. We see excellent moral conduct, such as concern for opponents' welfare, or declaring a foul when a referee doesn't know whether a foul has occurred. Focusing on this good moral behaviour is a great start in fostering a positive sporting environment.